I'm from Union City, and I know when I go back to that hometown, it's not the hometown anymore. My hometown is Jamestown. And when I saw the clip from 1941, I felt as good about that as I do about today. Talent builds the coach. When you have great kids, in 93, 94, 95, we had great kids, and you know, just a lot of them, a lot of athletes, and we didn't have any injuries. Both years, we went through generally with the same starting lineup. Chad Pike broke his ankle in an inter-squad scrimmage. He missed one game, and then we were able to beat Sweet Home without him, and then he was able to come in and kind of limp around, but he showed a lot of heart, and those kids were unbelievable. If you said one day, Truck, step aside, we're going to put Johnny in there and give him a work. No, no way, no. Everybody was afraid if one like Lou Gehrig, once they stepped out, they would never get their job back. And they were so, everyone wanted to be on the kickoff team. They did not want to leave the field. It was the darndest thing you had ever seen. And, you know, where are we today? Well, the year after our 3 championship years, we were 6-3. It's funny, and it's good. 7-2 doesn't do it in Jamestown anymore. I came as an English teacher, an English social studies teacher, always loved athletics, was certainly undersized and small, played at Union City, not a lot of success, but wanted to do something, but really didn't think, I felt it probably had passed me by. I went to Edinburgh. My dad died when I was 9 years old, and my mom raised just the 3 boys, and we didn't have the finances, so I drove back and forth. Held a job and did my student teaching at Corey, Pennsylvania. There was a counselor there by the name of A.K. Miller. Said, you know, you ought to get out of Pennsylvania, go to New York State. Well, my frame of reference was always Erie as a large city. I'd never been to Jamestown in my life. And I came here in 1962. Bob Howe and Burdell Cotton were the administrators. And geez, I liked what I saw. They needed teachers. My fiance, who I would marry that summer, I said, you know, this looks like a neat place. I said, I'd never been there. I said, it's just larger than Union City. It's bigger than Corey, and yet it seems small enough. It just looks like a great place to be. Mike said, well, would you help me? And I said, gosh, I really don't know. I said, really, I love baseball and basketball. But he says it doesn't. He said it pays $50 a year, but I said, well, you know, I don't feel very adequate, but I'll help you, and that's how I got started. And I helped Mike for I think 2 years, and then Mike went down to the high school as a varsity assistant. Howie Wyquist was the athletic director, and they brought another coach into Lincoln School. In fact, they brought 2 coaches, and Howie said, well, we won't need you this year. We have 2 phys ed people, and we really like to keep phys ed people coaching, you know, rather than classroom teachers. So I figured, well, that was a short career. That was, you know, 2 years and out, and but I think I got the taste of it. It seemed an awful lot of fun, a lot more than I thought it would be. Well, the next year, the program was a disaster. I think they won one game that year, and they beat St. James. That was their only win, and the two phys ed people said, no, we don't want to have anything to do with it. And Howie called me and says, I've got a young fella that we're hiring by the name of Pete Holford. He says he's has never played football, really doesn't know anything about it, but he's going to be the head coach. If you would like to come back and be his assistant and help him. And I said, sure, I'll do that. And so Pete and I worked there for the next dozen years, I guess about 7 or 8 years, and then he'd had enough of it. And I was happy there. Well, we had great teams. We won 25 games in a row, and I just loved it there. You know, Shirt Hardenberg was the principal, and then he left, and I said, boy, this is just great. We'd play down at the stadium, and we had these big games against Washington, and there'd be several thousand people. And the varsity program, well, that was so far above me. I just couldn't, you know, I didn't even aspire to it until Dick Noonan came to town, and we became friends, and I did some scouting for him, and he said, you know, you ought to consider coming down as an assistant. I said, I don't know, Dick. I said, I'm really happy here, and I got good friends that are, so I didn't do much about that until Joe Sanfilippo came. And if you remember Joe's first year, I think he won 1 ball game, and we were just right on the top of the crest then at Lincoln, and he came and introduced himself. He said, how about coming and be my assistant? I said, geez, I don't know, Joe. God, I'm awfully happy here, and I don't know as I can coach on the varsity level. Well, I stayed with Joe for 7 years, and then when he left, I became the head man, and I guess this will start my 16th year. And so that, just becoming a varsity assistant as an English teacher was, to me, unheard of. And then becoming the head coach, what better dream could you have than being with athletics and kids and sports programs? I look back 36 years ago, I never assumed I would ever coach, and where your life takes you is remarkable. I think maybe coaches are ego-driven. Most coaches have an ego. It's sometimes, you know, the ego gets out of hand a little bit, and you got to rein it back in. And I have my 3 assistants, my wife, to do that for me. So that always helps. Well, we have certainly seen a change in athletics today. Looking at Joe McCoy, you saw the other day in the paper, Joe is getting his last 2 years paid at the University of Buffalo. And there's so many ways to get to college today, so many paid opportunities. You don't have to be a great super student. I think of some of the leaders in Jamestown that I have had in class, and in 7th and 8th grade, you know, you wouldn't give a plug nickel that they were going to get to 9th grade, because, you know, they were just frankly a pain in the backside. And today I look at these people, and they're all through our community and in jobs that are prestigious, in community leaders. So I found out, you know, you don't sell anyone short. And most kids, if you can give them a little lift up, they'll reward you and come back and repay it, you know, 100-fold. And here's Joe McCoy, who came from just a very, very poor background with no social skills at all. And he's have an opportunity as a young black man. And I think the black community needs role models. They need kids like the Joe McCoys. I just said today I met with Vince Davis. Vince and Nate Davis were 2 great football players in the 80s. One went to Cornell, the other went to Michigan on full rides. And today they're doing very well in the business community, but it's so good to see that.
Well, you provided great leadership for the team for an awful lot of years, and I'm thrilled that you came here today. And obviously, we normally have people, a lot of them leave at 1:30. They've obviously stayed here because you've entertained them, and you've been very insightful. And so thank you for coming.
Well, I thank you.